not sure I've ever seen the live-action shorts be the weakest of the bunch. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainly Movies. Today, we're going to be continuing to focus on long-form Oscar-related content. Best Picture gets all the attention and glory, but we're going to be talking about some of the lesser-known and underappreciated categories, the short films. This year, I got to do my annual Oscar Insanity trip and drove several hours to my nearest indie theater to watch shorts for nearly 8 hours straight. I know that not everybody can get out to see these, so I'm hoping that this 3-part Rankography series is able to help you out and get you prepared for the Oscar ceremony. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. I've already talked about the animated and documentary shorts, so that brings us to our final category, the live-action shorts. This category is usually the second most popular of the shorts, and is often shown as a double feature along with the animated shorts. So hopefully some of you have had an opportunity to watch these. The 5 nominees are An Irish Goodbye, Ivalu, Les Pupille, Night Ride, and The Red Suitcase. Since this is a rankography, I'm going to be ranking these shorts, but remember, this is just my ranking, not the ranking. So be sure to post your own personal ranking of the 2023 live-action short film Oscar nominees in the comments below. Coming in at number 5, Ivalu. This is a Danish submission set in Greenland and was directed by Anders Walter. This short tells the somewhat abstract story of a teenage girl searching for her sister who suddenly and mysteriously disappeared. Well, they certainly kicked off the live-action shorts program with an underwhelming nominee. There was nothing bad or offensive about this film, but it was just incredibly dull. It had some nice cinematography, and the mystery element of its story certainly had potential, but it simply doesn't go anywhere. We experience this film from the perspective of Ivalu's younger sister, who searches for her sibling while also trying to grapple with the reasoning for and consequences of her disappearance. It's a bleak, sad story, and while that alone doesn't make it bad, the presentation and general emptiness of the story does. This is a big nothing of a short. Coming in at number 4, Night Ride. This is a Norwegian submission and was directed by Erik Tveiten. This film focuses on a woman who steals a tram and witnesses hateful harassment of a trans woman while on board. Whew, 2 Oscar shorts categories where we've just got really problematic films. Just like Stranger at the Gate in the documentary shorts category, this film takes a story that could have been pretty good and frames it in a head-scratchingly, poorly thought-out way by once again taking the victim of violence and making them essentially a side character in the story. We often end up with a lot of heavy, dramatic stories in the shorts categories, so the comedic films tend to stand out a bit because they're so enjoyable. And this short starts off strong on that note. We're presented with a very original scenario and a main character whose actions and reactions to things are incredibly funny. And if this short had just focused on this premise and expanded on it in a humorous manner, this probably would have ended up being one of my favorites of the nominees. Unfortunately, about halfway through, things shift. The main character is suddenly in a position where she's witnessing harassment and physical violence being perpetrated against a trans woman. And I want to be clear, the tonal shift here isn't the problem. The issue arises from the fact that this harassment and violence is really only being used as a means of progressing the story and characterization of the main character. And just like with Stranger at the Gate, I do think the short probably had the best of intentions, since the harassment is not shown in anything but a negative light. But again, it's the framing of the takeaway that's very problematic here. Coming in at number 3, Les Pupille. This is an Italian submission and was directed by Alice Rohrwacher and is available on Disney+. Set during World War II, it focuses on a group of young girls living in a Catholic boarding school during the Christmas season. Despite being the longest of the live-action shorts nominees, I think it had a story that warranted its length the least. To be honest, I'm a little torn on my placement of this one. If it wasn't for the misguided, problematic aspects of Night Ride, these 2 films would easily be swapped in my ranking, and I kinda wish I could just put them both at number 4 and not actually have a 3rd place film this year. I know a lot of people are going to really enjoy this one, but it just ended up frustrating me more than anything else. I do think that the period piece elements of this film, and especially the decision to shoot on Super 16 were the best things this short had to offer. It was interesting to watch from a visual perspective, but for me, incredibly boring to watch from a story perspective. There is a plot here, which is a positive thing, but by the end of the story, you're left wondering what the point of it all was. We're told outright what the message is, but it doesn't really feel very in line with what we actually saw. I guess I don't entirely know how to describe it, but there was something off-putting about this one to me. But I suspect its quirky style over substance approach will probably work for a lot of people. Coming in at number 2, An Irish Goodbye. This is an Irish submission and was co-directed by Tom Berkeley and Ross White. This short tells the story of two brothers who, after their mother's death, decide to complete all of the items on her bucket list. Okay, so it may have taken getting to the second spot, but we finally reached the live-action shorts that I actually enjoyed. This is certainly the funniest of the nominees this year, with a ton of situational humor, but also some outright jokes as well. It might sound like a bit of an unoriginal comparison, given that this is an Irish submission, but the humor and dialogue here really reminded me of Martin McDonagh's style. There's this slightly off-kilter rhythm to it, and also a weird darkness over all of the comedy that, situationally, makes it even more entertaining. So the comedy drives the fun and engagement here, but there's also an emotional and heartfelt story of brotherhood buried within it. We see the reconnection of two brothers who seem to have been at least a bit estranged, as they work through their grief in a decidedly comedic way. But in doing so, they come to have a better understanding of each other. The basic message here isn't anything particularly unique or surprising, but its presentation and entertainingly dark premise make this one of the better nominees in this category this year. So that means my number 1 Oscar live-action short of 2023 is The Red Suitcase. This is a Luxembourgish submission and was directed by Cyrus Neshvet. It tells the story of a 16-year-old Iranian girl who has been sent to Luxembourg under mysterious circumstances. Okay, so I was purposefully vague with my description there. I think some plot synopses give away too much with this film, so I highly suggest going into this as blind as possible, because there is a type of mystery element to this film in the way it's presented. We're thrown into a scenario that seems a bit strange and maybe a little suspicious, though it's initially unclear what's actually happening, so you're instantly hooked because you want to know what's going on. It doesn't take very long for the story to reveal to us the true nature of its scenario, and once it does, this film becomes a tense thriller. It's stressful and intense, but also emotional and enraging at the same time. This short deftly builds tension, and you're bound to be holding your breath for large chunks of its relatively short runtime. This is one of maybe 2 or 3 Oscar shorts from any of the categories this year that I would actually really like to see be made into a feature-length film. Alright, so that's my rankography of the 2023 Oscar nominees for live-action short film. Have you had a chance to see any of these live-action shorts? If so, what does your ranking look like? I'd love to see some reasoning for your order, so be sure to post it in the comments below. Also, be sure to check out my rankographies of both the animated and the documentary shorts, as well as my ranking series for all 23 Oscar categories. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insider information out of this rankography, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it to see more videos like this, as well as movie reviews. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.